Wind blowing out tonight here at beautiful Wrigley Field as the Cubs try to earn a split with the Detroit Tigers. Interleague play continues. It's WGN Sports on My 50 bringing you Chicago Cubs baseball. Great to have you with us along with Jim Deshaies. I'm Len Casper. It was a wild one last night. We had a long rain delay. Game ended around 1 o'clock and the Tigers won 10-8, but the Cubs made it very interesting. And, of course, Kyle Schwarber right in the middle of it.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber's been right in the middle of just about everything since he's come to the big leagues. Last night he made a heck of a play in left field to a runner out at home plate. And then he really tightened things up with this 3-run bomb to make the ball game 6-5. Kyle Schwarber settling in quite nicely. And we'll look at some numbers for him in the month of August. 14 games at OPS of 1080s and 6 home runs. And check out that note at the bottom. Just the third player since 1920 with 30 runs and 30 RBI in their first 35 Major League games.
And he's in the lineup tonight, even against a left-hander. And Ian Kinsler last night, big part of the Tigers' offense. They had 19 hits, the most the Cubs pitching staff has given up this year.
Yeah, Kinsler red hot of late. He had 5 hits in the ball game last night. Last 17 games, a .437 hitter, 9 extra base hits, and an OPS up over 1,000.
Cubs with a 3-game lead for the second wild card, and they're 3 behind the Pirates for the first wild card. It'll be Norris for the Tigers. John Lester, the Cubs opening day starter for the home team. Coming up next. Make a plan to make it home. Honda. Great deals are happening at the Honda Summer Clearance Event. Now at your Honda dealer. Napa. Home of Napa know-how. Ford. America's best-selling brand. Inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway. Make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Chicago Cubs baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Wind blowing straight out, overcast, and could be another offensive night. These two left-handed starters hope it's not. Here's the Tigers starting lineup written out by Brad Ausmus. Rajai Davis will get the start in left. We mentioned Kinsler's big night last night. Future Hall of Famer Miguel Cabrera plays first. J.D. Martinez, another home run, putting together a fantastic season. Castellanos is the third baseman. James McCann catches. Jose Iglesias, the shortstop, he had 4 hits. Anthony Gose goes from leadoff to 8th. And Daniel Norris will bat for the first time in his major league career.
Let's check out the Cubs defensively. Kyle Schwarber, we mentioned the big throw he made last night. He's back out in left tonight. Fowler center. Soler right. Chris Bryant, Addison Russell will man the left side of the infield. Starlin Castro, Anthony Rizzo the right side. David Ross will do the catching this evening. And on the mound is John Lester. He's 8-8 with a 321. He's making his 24th start, and boy, he's been really good lately. 5 starts since the All-Star break. He's 4-0 with a 2.04 earned run average.
Notice the throwback uniforms. We'll tell you about those in a second. Chicago native Tony Randazzo will work the plate. Toby Basner's at first. Phil Cuzzies at second. Crew chief Jerry Davis is over at third. The weather, a big story. Last night we had a rain delay in the middle of the ball game, 2 hours and 17 minutes. And let's hope we don't have any rain tonight. It has cooled off a bit, 72 degrees. Very comfortable. And we had some weird things that went on in the ball game last night. 3 to be exact. In the first inning, Miguel Cabrera hit what he thought was a home run, but a fan, and it was a Tiger fan, had actually reached over the yellow rope. So they went to review, and they ended up saying, nope, that's a 2-base hit. JD Martinez would then hit a home run. And then in the bottom of the first inning, Cabrera with a little adjustment. His glove is off, and he's surprised by Anibal Sanchez. He ends up throwing out Fowler at second base. We think he should have been called for throwing his glove at the ball, and Fowler probably should have ended up at third. And then in the ninth inning, this was really late. Ball got stuck underneath the mask of catcher James McCann, and after getting together, the umpires determined that the ball was lodged in the equipment, and that allowed Chris Coghlan to score. Tigers were not happy about it. We'll get into that a little more a little later. Brad Ausmus, 19 years in the big league, said he had never been called for that.
No, I think they missed that one. I think letter of the law, they probably were justified in making that call, but I don't think that's the proper interpretation. Didn't really have an impact on the game, but it's always fun to dissect those unusual plays.
So it is the veteran Lester, who had a rough outing in Detroit back in June, and a strike call to get us started. And Rajay Davis.
Yeah, 4 1/3 in that outing in Detroit. Allowed 9 hits, 5 runs.
It was swung at a pitch that bounced in front of the plate. Keep an eye on the Pirates hosting the Diamondbacks tonight. The Giants are in St. Louis. Then to scoreboard watch these days. Cubs 3 ahead of San Francisco for the second spot in the wild card race. 3 behind Pittsburgh for the first spot. As Lester rings up Davis. Tigers meanwhile 4.5 back of the Angels going into action today. In the American League wild card, that's the second spot there, but they've got a bunch of teams ahead of them.
Well, John Lester had the strikeout pitch working last time out. He punched out 10 Brewers in his last start, a 9-2 Cub win, and his 3rd consecutive W.
So these two teams wearing replica uniforms from 1945 in commemoration of the end of World War II. The Tigers and the Cubs met in the 1945 World Series. Detroit winning in 7 games. That ball thumped deep to left. Off the wall. Schwarber quickly into second. Kinsler hesitated, and he's safe. He somehow got in ahead of the tag by Starlin Castro. It looked like Kinsler halfway to second had second thoughts, but ultimately makes it in with a double.
Yeah, really curious. Usually when you see a guy break it down the way he did, they're going to retreat, but he stopped, restarted, and just beat this play. Well done here by Schwarber. Handles that carom. Good strong throw on a hop into Castro. A little bit offline, and that proved to be the difference maker as Kinsler got that hand in just before the tag. But he continues to rake. My goodness, 5 hits in the game last night. So a little hitch and go.
6 for 6 with a sac fly, a home run, 2 doubles in the series. And here's Miguel Cabrera, 14 out of 25 in his career against John Lester. Ball 1.
Yeah, for a slash line of a batting average of .560, on base percentage of .667, and a slugging percentage of .840.
I guess Miguel Cabrera, with that uniform on, is kind of playing the role of Hank Greenberg, the iconic Tiger first baseman, who actually returned from the war to play for the Tigers in the championship season in 1945. And outside, it's 2-0 on Cabrera. We'll be featuring a few photos of major leaguers in their other uniforms, as Hank Greenberg was a member of the United States Army. He was one of the first major league players to be drafted, but then he was discharged because he was 30 years old. 1941, a year after he won the American League MVP. 2 days after Pearl Harbor, he would re-enlist. He was sure at that time that his baseball career was over. The 2-1 from Lester. Big cut and a miss by Cabrera. I suppose in some ways, JD, it's a blessing in disguise that Kinsler doubled and didn't single, right? With the running game, Brewers stole 5 bases against John in his last start.
Yeah, and I think sooner or later he's going to have to confront that here tonight. Kinsler, a guy that can run. Rajay Davis, who punched out. Anthony Ghost down in the 8th spot in the batting order. All legitimate threats.
It's full 3-2. Very dangerous. J.D. Martinez on deck. Fowler will make the waist-high grab as he hesitated, then came in to make the catch. 2 outs.
You see a guy like Cabrera put the ball in play. You think back before you think in if you're an outfielder, but this one off the end of the bat didn't have a whole lot on it. So Fowler, after a little bit of a hesitation, runs it down.
Martinez knocked in 3 last night. He's got 51 home runs since June 16th of last year, trailing only Mike Trout and Nelson Cruz, among all major league players. And he held up on the swing. I referenced his story last night. First time All-Star this year, released by the Astros last spring training, 2014. Signed with Detroit 2 days later, and he's become one of the more underrated pickups in the last couple of years.
Yeah, they signed him, sent him to AAA, where he hit a bunch of home runs in a very short period of time. Called him up, and he did the same thing in Detroit.
Strike called. Yeah, he had retooled his swing in the offseason prior to 2014. His hitting coach at the time was John Naley. He was now the Cubs hitting coach. And Martinez has really thrived with the Tigers. But he strikes out here as Lester works around the 1-out double. Cubs coming up when we return. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Cubs have their longest streak of at least 2 walks, 30 games and counting, since 2000. Fowler, Schwarber, Bryant at the top, Rizzo, Soler, Castro in the middle, Ross, Lester, Russell to round it out against a very interesting left-hander. His name's Daniel Norris. They got him from Toronto in the David Price deal. Swing and a miss, just 22 years old, and a fascinating guy in a lot of ways. Off the field, maybe more so than on the field.
And so far this year, 8 big league starts, 2-2 with a 4.24 ERA. One of the top pitching prospects in baseball. A meteoric rise through the Blue Jays organization last year. A-ball, AA, AAA, and ultimately the big leagues briefly.
He is wasting very little time as he fires a 95-mile-an-hour fastball past Dexter Fowler. Walk-up Wednesday. Tonight we will feature some of the walk-up music from the Cubs hitters. Thuggish Ruggish Bone, the song for Kyle Schwarber, which came out I think before he was born, or right around the time at least. 429 feet, the 3-run homer to get the Cubs back in the game last night. The fastball is right at the knees for a strike. We showed you in the open, JD mentioned it, since 1920. Kyle, along with 2 other players, the only guys with 30 runs and 30 RBIs in their first 35 major league games. The other 2, Adam Dunn and Joe DiMaggio. Pretty good slider from Norris.
It's a good matchup here. A couple of young, high-ceiling prospects. Norris, one of 3 left-handers that the Tigers got in exchange for David Price from the Blue Jays.
Second-round pick of the Jays out of high school, Science Hill High in Johnson City, Tennessee, 2011. Made his major league debut last year. Pitched briefly in relief against the Cubs, actually, last September. And reading the bio of Daniel Norris, you know who he reminds me of?
Mark Fidrich.
That's not a bad one.
Bill Lee.
Still pretty good, but not the guy I was thinking of.
Bill Walton.
Swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts. No, I was thinking Joe Madden. See, Joe's got an RV called the Cousin Eddie. Norris has a restored 1978 VW van that he parked in a Walmart parking lot during spring training, named Shaggy. Unconventional, unpredictable. He has a very healthy wanderlust.
Yeah, he says he likes to go on journeys in the offseason, and he takes a long time working his way from home down to spring training, and he parks his van by the beach. He'll do some surfing, do some reading. Got a little portable stove that'll make his own coffee and cook his meals. He's an outdoors guy, very much into the environment.
And I envision Joe Madden owning a thought journal.
Yeah, I could see Joe having a thought journal.
Yeah. Bryant fouls 1-2. I tweeted before the game the ESPN long form story about Norris from spring training. And he did live in that van in the parking lot during Blue Jays spring training. It's pretty darn fascinating. Yeah, there's Shaggy. Well, it's Norris, but Shaggy's the name of the van. lined into center, base hit. So after back-to-back hitless games, Chris Bryant is 1 for 1 tonight.
It's like Norris likes to work up in the strike zone with that fastball. We've seen it 94, 95 miles an hour. Works across his body a little bit, kind of steps towards the first base dugout. Quick compact swing there from Chris Bryant.
Anthony Rizzo knocked in 2 last night, including the game tying run in the 7th. Outside for ball 1.
He's 22 years of age, 6'2", $195. I mentioned that great year he had last year where he really dominated minor league baseball. Not the case this year. Started the season with the Blue Jays, made 1 start. He had his first big league win in New York against the Yankees on April 9th. Struggled, was sent down to AAA. 3-10 with a 4.27 and 16 AAA starts this year. This for Toronto's AAA affiliate in Buffalo.
Missed again, 3-0. Jorge Soler is on deck. Popped him up. Castellanos makes a catch, and that will end the inning. 2-out single, no runs, scoreless after 1.
Game along with Joe Madden. Log on to WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner to connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and information while you watch from home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape. Pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer.
Castellanos will lead it off here in the 2nd. He had a weird night last night. 1 for 4 with a walk, 2 RBIs. The 3 outs he made were all lineouts. And he's batting .329 against lefties.
Yeah, it was one of those nights. There was all kinds of hitting going on, and there was a whole lot of loud outs as well.
There's the 1-0. Driven in the air out in the deep right. Soler will watch it go. That's a home run for Castellanos, and the Tigers have an early lead. The theme, for the most part, opposite field. We saw Ghost go to left in the ball game last night.
Yeah, and last night the wind was blowing out to left, not so much to right, which has been more common this year. Well, actually seems to blow in more than anything, but when it blows out, it's usually a crosswind that'll help towards left field. Tonight, it looks like it's going to help anywhere.
Yep. Coughlin, an oppo shot last night for the Cubs. As McCann fouls away. Beautiful vista here with the sun reflecting off the buildings beyond the ballpark. That ball will land in front of Soler, so McCann is on. They put up 19 hits in the game last night. Most of the Cubs have given up this season.
Yeah, they really jumped Jason Hamill early, and I don't know if it's their approach always, but very aggressive early in counts last night. First pitch swinging. Jason, after the game, said that they were attacking me like they knew what was coming.
The Tigers lead the major leagues in batting average, 273. And the shortstop Iglesias 4 for 5 in the opener, and he takes a strike.
And they're a little bit better against lefties than righties, at least in terms of batting average. 277 against southpaws, and this guy's hitting 360 against left-handed pitching.
Prior to last night, Elias reporting the previous time the Tigers had a double play combination, each with 4 hits in a game. Take a guess.
Well, it's not going to be
Probably.
Trammell and Whitaker.
Well, yes, it was.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, 1988. I was going to say probably the most famous double play tandem in Tigers history. Did it in '88, and Frank Bowling and Harvey Keene in 1956. The other.
I wouldn't have got that.
Tandem.
That would have been Final Jeopardy, and I would have wagered everything and gotten burnt.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Of course you knew it, Alex. You always know it.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Lester 4-0 over his last 5 starts. Cubs have lost 2 straight after winning 9 in a row. They'll get back to their winning ways here tonight.
McCann not a base stealer. He doesn't look like he's inclined to mess around with John at all. Just measuring a very short lead out there. There are the numbers since the All-Star break. 5 starts, 4-0 with a 2.04, and the strikeout to walk ratio just spectacular.
Strike 3 called. No argument from Iglesias. It's out number 1. Bunted by Ghost, past Lester, and the throw goes to second, and they get the lead man, McCann. Nicely done. They had no play at first. Actually, Lester got caught watching. Never really did get off the mound, but Rizzo with a nice feed in time to Russell at second.
Yeah, I feel like the bunt's probably going to be in play all night long here for Ghost. He doesn't hit much against lefties, but with his bunting ability and his speed, he can create some problems. Just a great play by Rizzo. McCann, assuming the play is going to be made behind him, breaks it down, stays upright. That's horrible base running.
First professional plate appearance for Daniel Norris, who apparently hit one off the right field board and broke a panel or two during BP yesterday.
Lives in a van. He doesn't watch TV. He hits prodigious BP home runs.
Buck Farmer last night in his first career plate appearance singled in the 5th inning. He drives this ball out of the deep center. Fowler will not have a play on it. It's gone. Are you kidding me? A 2-run homer for Daniel Norris. And as I mentioned, this is not just his first major league plate appearance. First time ever, minors or majors.
Wow, unbelievable. I don't believe that was because of the wind either. That was a pretty solid sound coming off his bat. That's a good looking swing by Norris, and he gets it off John Lester, no less.
Well, that's got to be a record for two guys, pitchers, to never bat even before they got here, to do that.
Yeah. Well, Norris, he's young enough that he hasn't unlearned how to hit yet from his high school days. But like last night, now the Cubs are going to have to play from behind here.
First Tiger pitcher to hit a home run in a decade. We have seen some things in this series. Davis went after a pitch in the dirt, strikes out. And that will end the inning. 2-run homer by Norris. Castellanos led off the inning with a blast. 3-0. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Throwback to 1945 tonight, marking the end of World War II. And of course, these two franchises matched up in the 1945 World Series. It went the distance, and they changed things up during wartime. The first 3 games of that World Series were played in Detroit at what was then known as Briggs Stadium. The final 4 games were played here at Wrigley Field. On a hop, Castellanos will spin and get Soler for the out.
Cubs won 98 games that year under Charlie Grimm. Phil Cavarretta was the MVP of the National League. I was looking at the numbers on Baseball Reference. The team walked almost 100 more times than they struck out, and just about everybody in the everyday lineup walked more than they struck out. And today's game, just a handful of guys in all of baseball that have walked more than they strike out.
Pitch is high on Starlin Castro. Two and 0. A few notes on the 45 series. Tigers took game 7. Stan Hack with the big hit in game 6. Hank Baroe received a decision in the final 3 games. Iconic names: Newhouser, Cavarretta. You see what they did. And Dizzy Trout, Steve's dad, pitched twice in that series for the Tigers. Once as a starter, once as a reliever. A win and a loss.
How's Lenny Marullo do in the 45 World Series? Old buddy.
It's fouled by Castro. And we'll look it up. Because you know why? You can look it up.
There are no unanswerable questions.
Fly ball well hit to right. But it's caught on the track by Martinez.
At the plate, number 3, the catcher, Damon Ross.
David Ross. That's the perfect song, right? Jay-Z, Forever Young. A guy nearing the end of his major league career. Lenny Marullo went 0 for 2. Appeared in 3 games in the 45 series.
Well, that's why they lost. They didn't use Lenny enough.
0 and 2. Swings and misses. And that will end the inning. The Cubs go down in order. It's 3-0 Detroit after a couple. Baseball blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, the nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. 3-0 Detroit as Ian Kinsler will bat against John Lester, and it's great to have with us in the booth Cubs board member Todd Ricketts and the president and CEO of the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, Dr. Nick Mueller. Guys, thanks for stopping by on this very special occasion tonight.
No, thanks for having us up here.
Glad to be here.
Great uniforms commemorating the 1945 World Series. And I was doing a little research on Major League Baseball during World War II. We had a shot earlier of the future Hall of Famer at the time, Hank Greenberg, the great first baseman for the Tigers. So in 1941, a year after he won the American League Most Valuable Player Award, he's 30 years old, and in May of that year, he gets drafted into the Army. There's a base hit for Kinsler. He's 7 for 7 in this series.
Guys don't stop him.
He is discharged because he was over the age of 28, 30 years old at the time. Then Pearl Harbor happened on December 7th. 2 days later, on December 9th, Greenberg re-enlists in the Army and basically says, "It is doubtless," the quote was, "that my baseball career is over." So that gives you a real good idea of what the time was like in this country.
That's correct. And after Pearl Harbor, of course, changed the face of baseball for the country. Ted Williams and Yogi Berra, and Johnny Pesky, Jerry Coleman, Bob Feller, they're all these greats. I mean, they immediately joined up almost the next day. I mean, it was just 71 years ago last June, Yogi Berra was with a landing craft going ashore at Omaha Beach. Just think about that. These guys gave up their careers to give to the country. Those are the kind of stories that we tell at the National World War II Museum. We actually had a conference on when baseball went to war. So it's a great sport, and there's a great importance to World War II.
Todd, can you tell us about your involvement?
Well, I've been involved with the museum down in New Orleans for about 5 years now, and really I've always been a bit of a World War II buff. And so ever since then, we've been looking for a good reason to highlight the National World War II Museum by commemorating World War II in some way. So when I saw the Tigers on our schedule on the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II, we thought we'd come in and put on some throwback uniforms and honor some of the veterans that are here and some of the trustees of the museum who have come out tonight. And we got a perfect night for it.
Dr. Mueller, why is the museum located in New Orleans?
That's a great question. It's the most often asked question, but because of Andrew Jackson Higgins, who built the landing craft that Eisenhower said won World War II. We had no landing craft, believe it or not, that could take guys ashore over an open beach in 1941, and he built 20,000 craft, and Eisenhower said that they got our boys ashore in Utah, Omaha, and all over the world, the Pacific Islands, the Mediterranean. And he was a boat builder in New Orleans. And I happened to be in New Orleans also with Stephen Ambrose. We were both history professors at the University of New Orleans. And about 25 years ago, we said, well, if it was good enough for Eisenhower, it's good enough for us. Let's do it right here. So the rest is history.
3-1. Cabrera takes it for ball 4. So trouble here for John Lester in the third inning. We want to give you the name of the website, nationalww2museum.org. And certainly we encourage you to donate. And why don't you just give us the mission of the museum?
Well, really, if you go back to Stephen Ambrose, it was always about the story of the citizen soldier and about how regular people gave up their lives, set everything aside, and dedicated themselves to the war effort. And I think that it goes far beyond the guys that went overseas. And I think the appropriate part of the Tigers Cubs World Series, too, in 1945 was that President Roosevelt had coined this phrase, the arsenal of democracy. And really this corridor between Chicago and Detroit was really the heart of that industrial complex with companies like Motorola, Ford, GM. These were the companies that built the radios, the machine guns, the Jeeps, the tanks, and the airplanes that really drove the war effort. And so I think it's appropriate that we're here tonight with the Cubs and the Tigers playing, and really the museum, the mission of the museum is to do that, to tell that story of those people who drove that war effort.
Yeah, no, we tell the American story. It's You know, we don't say too much about our allies or the Axis powers. This is our story, and we got to get it right. Other countries have already done their own museums, and this is an epic museum for a war that changed the world. So we're very proud that we've come as far as we have. And we've got Todd with us here, and Dick Duchessois and Bob Malott, the other Chicagoans who are on our board, have been on our board, help us coming from all over the country to help us finish this up.
Open for how long?
15 years since we originally opened as the D-Day Museum, but then the Congress gave us the mandate to do all of the war, Europe and the Pacific. So we're in a $300 million campaign, and about 2/3 of the way through. We're going to get there, though. We got a couple more years, and we'll be finished up here.
1-1 on J.D. Martinez. The Tigers have 2 on, with nobody out, leading 3-0. Ballpark looks ultimately similar to the way it looked in 1945, with obvious modern amenities that have been added. The one that people might not think about, Todd, are those bright things above the ballpark.
Yeah, that's right.
We would have been
actually
playing a matinee in 1945.
That's right, and actually it's a great part of the World War II story and baseball and Wrigley Field and the Cubs, is that the lights had been delivered here in December of 1941 to be put on Wrigley.
Oh, really?
And after Pearl Harbor, the Wrigley family actually donated the lights, and they were installed down at Navy Pier.
Oh, really?
And so Wrigley continued to go without lights until 1988.
Wow.
So it's a fun part of Wrigley history, and that ties into the World War II and the commemoration of the end of it tonight.
I led you right into it, and we didn't even rehearse that.
I know. You were one step ahead of me. That's how it always is.
2-2 on Martinez. Lester needs a ground ball at somebody, and it's outside, and it's 3-2. There was some controversy during the war, especially early on, as to whether or not Major League Baseball should continue to play, but ultimately there was plenty of support to continue, and a lot of it was about moral support, right, for not only the troops but the country.
That's right. Actually, Roosevelt wrote the commissioner and said actually that you really need to continue. This is America's game, and the people at home are going to need some diversions from the stress and the tragedy and the horrors of the war, and that he thought baseball would be a relief to the people on the home front who were working to support the guys on the battlefront. And so baseball kept going.
Bases loaded, nobody out.
I was going to say, at this moment, I'm starting to question interleague play, though.
The Tigers have brought in the heavy lumber here in this series.
They
Castellanos hit a home run his first time up. And he drives this ball to deep left, and that is going to be a grand slam to make it 7-0. He's got 5 RBIs, and we're in the 3rd inning.
That's the nature of it on a night like tonight when the ball is jumping out of the ballpark. So you've already given up 1, so you get a little, or 2 actually, so you get a little tentative. Obviously, you're going to be careful with Cabrera and Martinez. They don't chase, then you're up against it with the bases loaded, and Castellanos, we mentioned earlier, his Tiger team last night and again tonight, very aggressive early. First ball swinging here, just a little get over breaking pitch, and he dumps it into the bleachers. And Cubs down a touchdown here.
Still nobody out, and it's the catcher, James McCann. And again, the best way to donate to support the museum would be the website.
Yeah, for sure. You can go to the website, or we'd really like to encourage people to come down to New Orleans and see the museum if they can. There's a lot of great artifacts and a lot of great storytelling that goes on there, letting people know about just the story of regular Americans and their experience in World War II.
What kind of numbers to get at the museum?
We have about 600,000 a year. TripAdvisor ranks us number 4 most popular museum in the country. Right after number 1, Chicago Art Institute. Number 2, the Getty Museum, and number 3, the Metropolitan Museum of Art. But that's a good company, we think, to be number 4. And it's an amazing institution that's bringing people from all over the country and all over the world. There you see him. There, this film.
So a few other notes about baseball during wartime. 1941, right? Ted Williams hit 406. DiMaggio had the big hitting streak.
Yep.
We mentioned Greenberg and a pitcher, I believe, named Hugh Mulcahy were the two first major leaguers to be drafted that year. Over 500 major league players ended up serving during the war, including Musial, Williams, DiMaggio, and the others we mentioned. Over 4,000 minor league players also served. And I read a great article today, and I posted the website baseballinwartime.com. There were 44 minor leagues in 1940. By the end of the war, there were just a handful that survived. About 12 survived after the war. So to say that baseball supported the war would be a huge understatement, as Rizzo came off the bag. And baseball, a big part of the story.
Yep, it really was.
Yep. Dr. Mueller, thank you for stopping by. Todd Ricketts, congratulations on a great night here. And let's hope the Cubs can make a big comeback tonight.
Yeah, I just want to say one of the things I really like about the team this year is that we haven't seen any quit, even when we've been down by a few runs. So I feel optimistic. We got a good group of kids, and the team is definitely heading in the right direction. If we're hitting a hiccup at this moment. So thanks for having us.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Mueller, thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to get you down to the museum.
You got it.
All right.
And again, National WW2, number 2, museum.org to donate.
And you can text 1945 to 41444 as well.
There it goes, and Russell was not on the bag. He was behind it on the Ross throw. Early trouble for John Lester, so Clayton Richard is up in the bullpen.
Miscommunication there with the coverage at second base. Lester has been going along really, really well.
You and I use the word irony on occasion, and it seems like it fits tonight. The narrative coming in was holding on runners, and that really has not been an issue at all. It's been keeping the ball in the ballpark.
Yeah, well, 5 home runs hit in the ball game last night, 3 so far here tonight.
Well, the other thing is the Cubs have to figure out a way to get Ian Kinsler out. He is 7 for 7 in this series. I mean, anybody who gets on base ahead of Cabrera and Martinez, you're asking for trouble. Popped him up, and it's Russell just into the outfield grass.
Cub fans, don't miss all the excitement here at Wrigley Field. Tickets are still available for the upcoming 4-game series with the Braves. And as a reminder, tickets from the original June 13th rainout are good for this Monday's makeup game with Cleveland. First pitch, that game will be at 1:05. As always, visit Cubs.com for tickets and the latest updates.
They gave Iglesias a single on that ball to short, by the way, before he stole second. Norris homered in his first professional plate appearance, and he cranked a 2-run shot to the juniper bushes in center. 2-0. Thanks to Dr. Mueller and Todd Ricketts for stopping by. I find the whole story of baseball and its place during World War II to be very interesting, and the sacrifices made by a lot of people within this game to kind of drop everything and serve their country. As Norris walks, and that might be it.
7 runs, the most John has allowed in a start this year.
So a couple of short outings for John against the Tigers. And he will leave trailing 7-0 in the third. We'll be back. The 90s. Budweiser bleacher fans 21 and older will get a reissue neon Cubs hat in one of 2 popular colors. Fun 90s themed pop culture will be featured throughout the game, and for tickets, visit Cubs.com. There's Clayton Richard.
Veteran lefty working for the 7th time. He's made 3 starts. He's pitched to a 3.70 ERA. Last worked 5 days ago against the White Sox. Pitched 2 scoreless innings. And when he's on his game, he's a guy who gets a lot of outs on the ground.
It's foul.
Fastball, slider, cutter, and a changeup. We've seen him at 94. He likes to work 91, 92 with sinking action, but he can reach back and hump it up there 94, occasionally 95 miles an hour if he's looking for a punch out.
Toward the hole. Nice play. Russell throw to first, though, and not in time. He knew he had to hurry with Davis running. And it's a single.
Very difficult to play to make from the outfield grass with Davis going down the line. So second infield hit of the inning for the Tigers. Hitting it over the wall. They're finding the holes. Definitely enjoying their 2 days here in Chicago.
Here's Kinsler, 7 for 7. And a sacrifice fly in the series. High drive. And the Cubs will finally retire Kinsler. Well, they got him on the sac fly last night, but that doesn't count as an at-bat. 7-0.
Brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. And stay tuned for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Budweiser, because the Victory Bells will be singing the stretch tonight. Red, white, and blue. You get it?
Richard will lead off. So John Lester never did get an at bat tonight. Come on, Clayton! He just couldn't beat the throw. Kinsler gets him. These uniforms make you look slower. And that baggy look.
Yeah, it's not a sleek look. It's not a speed-inducing look. Pretty slick play by Kinsler. Knows he has a little time.
Here comes Russell. 2 hits last night, including his first career triple. Two. Daniel Norris is the first American League pitcher to ever hit a home run here at Wrigley Field. Bounce that one in front of the plate, and it's 2-2.
At the risk of sounding redundant, I think I uttered the same words last night. The good news is there's a lot of time left and the wind is blowing out.
Well, I guess that is the old baseball adage. If you're going to get down big, do it early. It gives you more time to come back.
Yeah, and
the gallows humor, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It hasn't been a real tight bullpen for the Tigers either. So put some pressure on the kid here. Get to him a little bit. Get into that pen. The challenge is trying to stop this Tiger team from scoring the way they're swinging the bats.
Russell strikes out. This Sunday, the Cubs will battle the Braves at 1:20, and the first 5,000 kids will get a Cubs toy airplane presented by American Airlines. Then at the end of the game, the first 1,000 kids 13 and younger with special wristbands will be allowed on the field to run the bases, weather permitting. For more information, visit Cubs.com.
Joe Madden, John Maley, you just want to make sure your hitters stay engaged. Down 7 runs, you don't want them to just go up there and start flailing away. I mentioned Norris, one of 3 left-handed pitching prospects that came to the Tigers in the price deal. He's got the highest upside. Blue Jay organization had a lot of depth in terms of pitching, and so they were willing to trade away some of it.
Deep right. Martinez has no play. It's in the basket. It's a home run, and the Cubs are on the board on Dexter Fowler's opposite field shot. 7-1.
Got to start somewhere. Fowler goes oppo. It's number 13 for Dexter. Good swing. Better result.
Third time he's homered from the right side. 13th time overall. Schwarber. It's at ball 1.
Again, trying to back Norris off a little bit. Overthrew that last breaking ball. You become a very good pitching prospect by having good stuff. Velocity, good action on the breaking pitch, and you become a good big league pitcher when you harness that stuff and learn how to pitch with it. And that's the challenge for a guy like Norris. He's got plus stuff. That's why all those Baseball America and all those other publications rated him so highly. And now the question is, when is he going to be able to put it all together? So far tonight, he's been really good. But, as I mentioned in the bottom half of the first, he was not having a banner year at AAA. You read some of the same articles I did about Norris, talking about his approach to life, out there kind of guy, and the Blue Jays apparently expressed some concerns, and he's like, I don't expect him to understand it, but he wasn't going to yield. He's not going to change who I am.
I think a big part of it is Schwarber walks is the word routine, and we are in a game that is so routine oriented, and when you find a guy like Norris who really goes completely against that, I can see how there could be some pushback.
Well, there's such a herd mentality in baseball too.
Speaking of that, Joe Madden is instituting American Legion Week, and I believe it starts tomorrow. And the idea is that the Cubs are not going to hit, they're not going to take infield, they're going to pull back a little bit on some of the extra pregame work and be more of the show up and play mindset. And this is by design here as we near the end of August. He wants guys to spend more time away from the ballpark, not more time here.
Yeah, keep the mind fresh and just break out of that routine. I mean, he already has done a really good job of it, kind of instituting that. This team takes BP less frequently than any team I've ever been around.
Chris Bryant, towering fly ball to left. Davis is back. He's on the warning track. It's gone. 2-run homer for Chris Bryant, and it's 7-3. Get the ball in the air tonight.
And with his strength and the way that wind is blowing, he figured it had to leave the ballpark. But as Davis neared the wall, it looked like maybe he was going to have a chance to make a play on this ball. He did not. It's home run number 17 for Chris Bryant. And yeah, pressure applied to the young left-hander. Home run, walk, home run. Cubs within striking distance. All coming with 2 outs.
That is a basket home run. No question about it. Boy, you hit that so high. Number 17. All but 3 have been hit here. Strike to Rizzo. One and one. August 19th, a couple of anniversaries. The 50th of Jim Maloney's 10-inning no-hitter for the Cincinnati Reds here at Wrigley Field. Reds beating the Cubs 1-0 that afternoon. It's a tough loss for Larry Jackson, who at 10 innings gave up 1 run on 9 hits. And 1 run was a home run. 4 years later, also here at Wrigley Field, 46 years ago today, Ken Holtzman in a Cubs 3-0 win that took 2 hours to complete. No hit the Atlanta Braves. Famous or infamous or whatever you want to put it. Hank Aaron blast. Billy Williams and everybody. Jack Brickhouse thought was gone. Wind knocked it down. Billy made the catch. That ball's booted by Kinsler. And the door has opened to keep the inning alive.
Just clanked it.
Here's Soler, 0 for 5 in the series. Just outside. Looked like it might be a laugher here about 10 minutes ago, but I don't think Daniel Norris is too comfortable right now. He's given up a couple of homers, Fowler and Bryant. And he's facing Soler with a man on. Only in the third inning.
We're on pace for a 30-run ball game.
Swing and a miss. So he does eventually get out of it. 2 chains with "We Own It." Chris Bryant's walk-up music. Fowler to the basket and right. Bryant to the basket and left. 7-3 after 3. Let's check out the Cubs' forward upcoming schedule. This long stint here in the city of Chicago will come to an end Monday, but 2 more opponents coming in. The Atlanta Braves for 4 starting tomorrow night. Makeup game against the Indians on Monday afternoon. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. 1-0 to Cabrera from Richard is a strike. Home runs. Fowler and then Bryant, 2-run shot. Cubs within 4.
So mission number 1 accomplished. Put some runs on the board and get back into it now. We'll string some zeros here.
Yeah, you're right. You made the best point. One thing to put up an 8 or 9 spot tonight is the Cubs will try to do offensively, but you got to slow down this Tiger offense. 17 runs already in the series and 12 innings of work.
Richard made a pretty good 2-1 pitch there, just didn't get the call down and away. And Cabrera motioning out to Richardson. I'm just waiting for the conversation between Ross and the umpire to stop. Rossi lobbying for Richard on that 2-1 offering. I think Cabrera wanted Clayton to know that it wasn't He wasn't holding up the proceedings. He was just waiting for the conversation to end, and it might not end for a while. Tony Randazzo, the home plate umpire. Talk a lot about pitchers having mound presence.
Tweet us your selfies.
Yeah.
Hashtag WGN Cubs.
Cabrera has batter's box presence.
It's toward the middle. And Russell will get him.
It just looks like he's going to hit it hard every time he's up. That time he did not. So Richard battled, made a pitch, got a ground ball.
Martinez fouls.
Pirates lead the Diamondbacks 3-0 bottom of the 8th in Pittsburgh. 6 scoreless from Jay Happ tonight for the Pirates.
Looks like the Giants have now taken the lead. They were down 2-0 early at St. Louis. Now lead 3-2 in the 7th. That looks like the Dexter Fowler home run ball. Is in an area that is difficult to reach for the fans in right. Those tough to reach places. Sounds like an ad for a toothbrush.
Well, it's an ad for something. I can't think of what it is.
Castro makes the play.
What are you playing? I got a Titleist and a Bridgestone. Fishing out Chris's home run ball.
Castellanos, huge night already. 2 homers, including a grand slam. He's knocked in 5. And he's 3 for 3. Nick Castellanos has had a night.
It's a good pitch. Sinker down below the knees. Instead of trying to pull it, he goes the other way.
Hey, we want to send out hearty congratulations, Ryan and Katie McDonough, birth of their child Riley Lisa, and grandparents John and Karen McDonough. Hope everybody's doing well. Also this week, my great friend Dutchie Carey celebrating a birthday. And she will have a street dedicated in her honor tomorrow downtown. Honorary Dutchie Carey Way. Well deserved. Back by McCann. So James McCann's home runs. First of his career inside the park shot in Minnesota in April. The second game-ending homer against Houston on May 21st. his third, a game-ending homer to beat the White Sox. A couple after that, not so dramatic, but he's picked his spots well. Strikes out this time, and Richard works a scoreless fourth, 7-3 Detroit. Cubs MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Seven to 3. Cubs try to inch their way back into this game. Ando en la Versace. Omega. Catchy tune for Starlin Castro as he bats. Cardinals have tied the Giants 3-3, bottom of the 7th in St. Louis. We'll keep an eye on the other big games involving the Cubs. Does Starlin Castro have his socks on backwards?
Yeah. Those 2-and-1s. They're kind of. They're not stirrups. Tricky.
Usually the bigger arch is on the back.
Those almost
looks fine.
They almost look neutral.
Yeah. To Norris. It looks like Norris is a pretty good athlete. Feels his position well. He can hit.
Yeah, his dad owns a bike shop, and his grandfather owned it before his dad did. So he's big into biking and surfing. Based on the way he swings the bat, looks like he's very athletic.
Aggressive swing by David Ross for strike one.
Yeah, he's throwing plenty of pitches up in the strike zone. Up like that obviously is tough to get to, but when he drops it down the mid side of the belt area, you can do some damage there. It looks to me like he's trying to overpower the ball, which is understandable for a young guy.
1-2. Greg Bird, B-I-R-D. And first base for the Yankees today, knocked in all 4 of their runs. A couple of 2-out, 2-run homers in a 4-3 win over Minnesota. Ross strikes out. 6 for Norris.
Join Joe Madden and Cub players ringside after the game on September 2nd for an unforgettable night of amateur boxing. Great food and giving back to Chicago's youth. Located at the Ravenswood Events Center, Madden's main event will feature local youth boxers at various skill levels, as well as a special main event bout. For tickets and details, visit CubsCharities.com.
I don't know how much attention you paid to Nathan Eovaldi's season, but he's 13-2 for the Yankees, and he hit 100 miles an hour a few times today in his start. He's 8-0 since June 20th.
Watched a little bit of that ball game. I saw the Bird home runs that you referenced. He's filling in for Mark Teixeira at first base.
I'm sure you've noticed that we haven't referenced it. That is a large Old English D on that Detroit cap from 1945. I like it.
It seems like if your last name started with D, you would want to have a hat like that.
Cubs have the wishbone C on their 45 caps. Bounced to Castellanos, and the Cubs go down in order in the 4th. 7-3 Detroit. Curious back. Hello, eyes up here. Hello. There you go. 7-3 Tigers.
Guys working on a Sudoku or something.
Stock market. Iglesias, Gose, and Norris.
Iglesias with a 4-hit night last night. Infield hit and 2 tries here tonight.
All-star this season for the first time.
Yeah, he's an intriguing player. Good actions out there at short.
Missed all of last season. Lateral tibia stress fractures. Does not sound fun, and he just was thrown out by Russell on a bang play at first. He got down the line in a hurry.
Brad Ausmus's taking a little time to look this one over, and we'll see what you see at home. Appeared to be out.
Talking with Brad Ausmus about that weird McCann play last night. He said around 1998. I'm not sure who they were playing. Ray Durham, or the White Sox. Runner at third, pitch in the dirt. He's catching. Ball goes straight up in the air, and he loses it. No idea where it is. Eventually, Durham scores. And Jerry Davis, who's working the game tonight at third base, was behind the plate, pulls it out, the ball out of his front pocket of his shirt.
He's like Doug Henning.
Right. It was the same call that we saw in the ninth inning last night. Didn't involve Ausmus having the ball caught in his paraphernalia, but it was caught in the home plate umpire's clothing, and that was the one base call. And he said the issue he had with the call last night was that he believes that rule is designed to essentially protect the defense. In other words, if a ball gets caught in your chest protector or something and you can't get the ball out, then the runners just can't circle the bases.
Right. And in the case of the Jerry Davis play he's referencing, nobody knew where the ball was. Last night the ball popped up under the catcher's mask, under his chin, and he just reached in and pulled it out. So.
Right. Just missed the outside. Richard wanted it. And the other thing about this play is Bruce Rondon was pitching at the time, and the run didn't matter. It had no bearing on the Cubs' chances in that ninth inning. Rondon was really upset. The Cubs were hoping that maybe it would rattle him enough to the point where he'd make a mistake as Ghost strikes out. Unfortunately, he did not.
Oh, yeah, he had an awful lot of room to work with, and that was the key, because he was not particularly sharp. He throws really hard. I think we got him at 100 miles an hour once.
Norris has homered and walked. This time, quickly strikes out. Still 7-3.
picks the best matchups in baseball. Reserve your place in line for history in the making. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy, free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list.
Daniel Norris with a 7-3 lead. Curve strike on Addison Russell. Final game of the season series. Detroit winners of 2 of the first 3. These 2 franchises going in the Wayback Machine, as we did earlier, have met up 4 different times in the World Series. Each team has won twice. Cubs 07-08, Detroit in 35 and 45. Shortstop Iglesias gets rid of it quickly. Not any wasted movement there. Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly? Dexter Fowler to the opposite way, 377 feet.
Biscuit in the basket.
Well, 1984, it looked like these 2 franchises were headed for another meeting in the World Series. Detroit got off to that 35-5 start. The Cubs had that magical season. We actually have a couple of guys from those 2 teams in the ballpark on our level tonight. Rick Sutcliffe on national television, and Jack Morris in the Tiger television booth. There's a base hit to left.
Nice roll Dexter's been on lately. Just keeps on keeping on. Morris has to get through this 5th inning to qualify for a win. Sometimes that can be a little bit of a psychological barrier for a young pitcher. The more important barrier is the middle of the Cubs order. It's coming up to hit here. Blue Jays and Phillies are playing. Well, they played tonight. That's a World Series rematch. Mets are playing the Orioles. World Series rematch.
Swing and a miss. So Jack Morris never got to pitch in this ballpark. He did pitch a no-hitter in Chicago on April 7th, 1984. That was at Old Comiskey Park.
Madden has been impressed by Schwarber's approach against left-handed pitching, so he said he's going to get plenty of playing time against southpaws as well.
He's off the breaker. 1-1.
So far, coming into this ballgame, 235 against left-handed pitching with a couple of home runs, 3 doubles, so there's some slugging numbers there. What's going on?
Notice the velocity on that curve was at 70. We had been seeing it at 74.
Looks like he's coming out of this game.
Yeah. Well, he was hit 95 on the first pitch of the inning. I don't know if it's related at all to an arm issue or what.
He's not coming out. I saw Austin was talking to Randazzo, and I thought I saw Tony pull out his lineup card as if he were going to write in the changes.
Yeah, he has
clearly something's barking. Looks like an oblique, maybe. He puts his hand on that right hip. He's done. A tough break for the kid. It's been a magical night. A chance to win a game here at Wrigley Field. His first ever start here. He hit a home run in his first ever professional at bat.
So the new pitcher will have as much time as he needs to get loose.
In this game, he threw 38 pitches last night, and now it's Tom Gorzolani, the other lefty, coming out of the pen. The lefty, a veteran, will work next for the Tigers. Mazda, conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way.
Again, he'll whatever he needs. Norris left due to some sort of injury. It appeared to be a side issue. Well, famous last words yesterday. Ruben Amaro Jr. said Chase Utley is likely to finish the year as a Philly. Cue the Dodger cap.
For two minor leaguers, pending physicals, but they expect to get that done in the next 24 hours or so. Utley has agreed to a complete no trade provision in his contract, so from Southern California, a chance to go back there, play at Dodger Stadium, and play alongside his old teammate Jimmy Rollins. Dodgers clearly in go for it mode.
No, that's actually, that would be holy cow. It's not Matt Forte, but he's wearing his jersey.
Gorzolani also pitched in the ballgame last night, but nowhere near as much as Hardy did. He only threw 8 pitches. Tigers made a roster move today. Called up another pitcher. Verhagen. Drew Verhagen up from AAA Toledo.
Would you struggle in this spot? You've got 40,000 people waiting, and you're warming up on the.
I don't believe I ever did it.
Mound.
Really? I ever did it. I think so. Maybe once. It might have been a game in Atlanta a long time ago where Bob Nepper got hurt and I came in behind him. Yeah, it's I think for a younger guy it's tougher. That's why a lot of times you see a pitching coach or manager will hang out there and kind of be a little mound buddy for that pitcher as he warms up. Some companionship.
Before we continue, I'd like to pass along condolences to the family of Bob Lindell. He passed away last week following a long battle with brain cancer. He was an ardent Cubs fan from suburban Chicago. Thoughts and prayers to his wife Lisa and their 2 young children. Fowler at first, 1 out and a 1-1 count on Schwarber. Inside, Zolani went to Marist High School, born in Evergreen Park, went to Triton College, University of Kansas, pitched for the Cubs, part of 2009, and in 2010. 29 appearances, 23 were starts. Three and 1. Check on Fowler.
And Gorzolani started with the Pirates in 05. His career reminiscent of Zach Duke, who's now pitching for the White Sox. Both had success as starting pitchers early in their career with the Pirates and morphed into bullpen guys.
He walked him. Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly on the Chris Bryant home run? 2-run shot in the 3rd inning, 351 feet to the basket and left.
Not as high as it was far. Towering home run. Well, too much to ask to do it again.
Cardinals have grabbed a 4-3 lead over the Giants. Bottom of the 8th.
Well, this at-bat here for Bryant, very similar to the at-bat Kyle Schwarber had in the ballgame last night, where he's got the platoon advantage. Brad Ausmus's hands are tied here. Rizzo's on deck. His other lefty Hardy threw a lot of pitches last night. We're only in the 5th inning.
It's a strike.
He's trusting Gorzolani against Bryant here. Gorzolani has not given up a lot of home runs this year. 3 total, only 1 to a right-handed batter. The righties are hitting .355 against him.
Yadier Molina with a go-ahead leadoff homer off Hunter Strickland in the bottom of the 8th. By McCann, runners hold.
Second big home run Molina's hit in that series. He only got a handful for the year. Bryant with a line drive single first time up. So 2 out of 2 single home run.
Two on the way. Blocked by McCann. One out single by Fowler. After a couple of pitches to Kyle Schwarber, the starter Norris left due to an injury. And it's Gorzolani. Couldn't get him to bite. 3-2. Here it comes. They're loaded up, and the tying run will come to the plate.
Chris will expand his zone from time to time, but when he does, it's usually an elevated fastball or a pitch that at least has the illusion of a strike. That one pretty easy to read out of Gorzolani's hand. Bryant accepts his walk, bases loaded.
It's Jeff Jones, pitching coach. Hey, Clark, the official team mascot of the Chicago Cubs, can be part of your next gathering. From charity events and wedding receptions to birthday parties and grand openings, Clark wants to be a part of it. Email him directly, clark@cubs.com, or visit cubs.com/kids for more information.
Anthony with a game-tying single in the ball game last night, knotted it up 6-6, and the Tigers had a 3-run 7th. Ultimately won 10-8. Big chance here for Anthony. 3 out of 8 in his career against Gorzolani. One of those 3 a home run.
Strike one on Rizzo. Did not have a big pull shift against him. The lefty on the mound, and the base is full. Anthony with an OPS of over 1,000 against lefties. And he chased one there. 1-2.
Like he's just cheating, playing a hunch. Thought maybe he'd get an inside fastball, and rarely do you see him go after a pitch that bad.
Spot in this game. The Cubs recently were down 7-0. They picked up 3 on a couple of home runs in the third. And then they have the tying run at the plate, and we're only in the 5th. 2-2 is line foul. Way out front.
He's so quick. So he's got 2 strikes. He's already been fooled by the breaking ball. It's understandable that Gorzelani and McCann would think they'd be able to get in on him with a fastball. And Gorzelani turned one loose at 94 miles an hour. But Anthony just so quick. Turned on it like he was looking for it.
Up. Caught by Kinsler. Gorzelani will not get a chance to face Soler. Looks like it'll be Albuquerque. We got the win last night for Detroit. Bases loaded, 2 outs, 5th inning. We'll be right back. Tonight, throwing out a first pitch. He's a veteran of World War II. Great weekend for everyone at Arlington. Local favorite, the Pizza Man, won the Arlington Million.
He really delivered.
Here's Albuquerque, got the win as we mentioned last night. What if Al were short for Albuquerque?
Let's pretend it is.
Okay.
Not research it any further. Just run with it. A third of an inning last night to pick up that win. He's made 7 pitches. He's been on a nice roll here lately for Brad Ausmus's group.
So he was owed one more warm-up toss.
One run allowed in his last 15 outings. Of course, we're not so much concerned with the runs he allows, but those inherited runners. Basically a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, and he'll throw the slider more than the heater. That's what he started George with, and I suspect Soler will see a lot of spin from Albuquerque. Show me fastball. Didn't really want to throw that one in the zone.
Game in Pittsburgh has gone final. Jay Happ got the win as the Pirates bested the Diamondbacks 4-1. 2-1. And Soler.
Let him off the hook. Tough thing for any hitter, especially a guy without a lot of experience, to stay calm in moments like these and force the pitcher into the strike zone. So badly wants to do some damage.
Right field line. Just out of play.
It was a rather bold offering right there from Albuquerque. Challenge fastball after Soler showed a willingness to chase that slider off the plate. And scouting Soler, and you're going to say, be careful with the heater. He can hit the fastball, and he struggles with breaking pitches off the outside part and down.
Well, for posterity, if nothing else, Alberto Jose Albuquerque. His real name is Soler. Pops it up.
And a pitch.
Kinsler has this one. Opportunity missed. Still 7-3. chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu at Subway. Subway, eat fresh. Message and data rates may apply. Top of the order for Detroit. 4th time through. A little 2nd time around facing reliever Clayton Richard.
Clayton's done a nice job. 2 1/3 scoreless so far. John Lester tonight 2 2/3, allowed 7 hits, 7 runs, all earned, walked 3, struck out 4. John saw his ERA jump from 3.21 to 3.58. Hey, there's the Rockford Peaches making their way through the crowd.
I believe those are the 7th inning stretch singers. High fly, deep right. Soler back, it's gone. A home run, Rajai Davis. Their 4th of the night. And 7th of the series for Detroit.
I've been a little mystified about this Tiger team. They lead the American League in batting average. They're near the top of the league in on base and slugging, but they're middle of the packish in terms of runs scored. But they're swinging it here. These 2 ball games, that might not be the case for a while. Jeepa.
8-3. Kinsler takes a strike. It's over in St. Louis. Cardinals 4, Giants 3, a final. So Pirates winning. Cardinals winning. Giants losing. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Kinsler in a huge slump, 0 for his last 2.
Hey, this Saturday, the Cubs play the Braves. First pitch is at 3:05. First 10,000 fans at the ballpark will receive a John Lester debut bobblehead presented by Las Vegas. For tickets, visit Cubs.com.
According to Tony Paul of the Detroit News, last night Miguel Cabrera spotted a Tiger fan near the first base dugout with a sign on which it said "Fire Ausmus." Cabrera bartered for the sign, gave the fan a ball in return as he deposits one into right. Cabrera took the sign. I assume he destroyed it in support of his manager. The exact same fan 3 years ago had a sign at U.S. Cellular Field that said "Fire Leland." And Cabrera playfully stole that sign before laughing and giving it back. So
I'm not sure he destroyed it, though. I wouldn't be surprised if he hung it in the clubhouse. We're talking about the gallows humor that there is in this game.
He had a playful weekend with Jose Altuve in Houston. You see that? They were Altuve would reach and one guy would pull on the jersey of the other guy. Martinez with a single, 3 hits in the inning. Cannot say Miguel Cabrera doesn't have fun at the ballpark.
No, and he may remind some older folks, like people my age, of Willie Stargell, the Pops. That was all. He was always out there goofing around, having fun, playing tic-tac-toe out at first base.
Castellanos, line shot for an out. Every out he's made in the series, and he's made 4 of them, have been rockets.
Talk about being locked in. Home run, double, and a bullet to right. How's this guy only hitting 237, right? You see somebody over a short period of time, you look at the numbers, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, as fun as a baseball fan as it is to watch Miguel Cabrera hit and Mike Trout do everything, I think Cub fans are happy those guys are in the other league.
Yeah, you can watch the highlights on TV.
Two balls, no strikes to McCann. Cubs bullpen quiet. Another ball struck well. Soler is back, and a little leap in the grab, and that will end the inning. Davis led off the frame with a home run. 8-3 Tigers. In this series for Detroit, they've hit 7 out of the ballpark, 31 hits, 18 runs so far. Tonight, Castellanos 3 hits, 2 homers, 5 knocked in. Multiple hit night for Fowler and for Bryant, each with a home run. Honda Dream Garage Sales event now at your Honda dealer. Albuquerque continues. Soler with the bases loaded to end the threat in the 5th. Ball 1 on Starlin Castro. Two and 1. Padres edge the Braves 3-2 in San Diego. It was a matinee and a fair ball into the left field corner. As Castro will make his way into second. So the Braves will come to Wrigley for 4 games starting tomorrow night, after getting swept in 3 in San Diego.
Braves are now 21-43 on the road. Brutal.
I think they've lost like 18 of 20 on the road, something like that.
6 starts in positive fashion for the Cubs. Leadoff double by Castro.
Chris Coughlin David Ross. Might we see Kyle Schwarber catch?
Well, Montero's on deck.
Oh, Montero on deck. Well, that would explain it. I guess the answer is no. Suppose I should look at the on deck hitter before I theorize. 0-2.
Kyle was out early today. Cubs didn't take BP. But Kyle was down with Mike Borzella working his receiving skills this afternoon.
Driven deep, right center, and it will one-hop the wall. Castro will trot home. Coughlin around second, on his way to third. Throw there. Not in time. A triple.
Had the play in front of him, decided it was worth it, and he made it. And boy, he doesn't believe in singles, does he? Everything he's hitting lately is meant for extra bases. Boom. Check out that swing. I've seen many triples in the middle of this ballpark. Most of them are in the corners. A risky play with nobody out, but he made it. Now, great opportunity to put a crooked number on the board here in the home sixth.
People sitting at home just about ready to give up on this game. And then they get pulled back in. Cubs put up 3 in the third. Double triple to start the sixth. Here's the slide. That is a long slide by Coughlin. Way high, 2-0.
Nobody up in the Tiger pen.
Yeah, in terms of the pitching in this series with the rain last night and the short starts tonight, for these two managers and pitching coaches, it probably feels like we've played 30 innings. Just try to figure out how to cover all these outs.
Yeah, and trying to identify those breaking points in a game where a game could flip, and you want to make sure you have the advantage in those situations. But when your starters come out so early in the game, you can't cover all those situations, not night after night, not without risking burning guys out.
3-1. Russell on deck.
Albuquerque has not been sharp in this outing. He got Soler last inning to leave the bases loaded, but his command was not particularly good.
Ball 4.
Jeff Jones needs walkout music. We could have done the whole Beatles White Album.
Russell will bat, 2 on, nobody out, no run in.
Shortstop, number 22, Addison Russell.
Walk up Wednesday. That's Vampire, Tribal Seed.
So far tonight, I'm 0 for on the walk-up music in terms of identifying the song or the artist. Complete whiff.
Don't worry, Sister Golden Hair is listed somewhere here.
We got to wait to play the Reds so we can get Todd Frazier with Sinatra.
1-1.
Make a big noise here, Addy. Good pitch.
Slider, 1-2.
His command has been spotty, but when he locates that slider, he could be awfully tough. Sneak attack with a comeback 94-mile-an-hour heater that has just been off that outside corner.
We used the word relentless recently during the winning streak regarding this offense lately. There's going to be 2. Not ideal. You do get a run out of it, but you're looking for a crooked number here this inning. Russell will not. I guess they do get a crooked number. 2 runs so far, but trying to get more. Russell will not get an RBI on the 6-4-3. So 2 outs, bases cleared.
He pulled off that fastball. Last night he hit a pitch out away from him, drilled it to center field for that triple. This time I think he's trying to lift that one, pulled off it a little bit.
He's frustrated. Here's Fowler. 8-5 now. Swing and a miss. These are meaningless predictions because we have absolutely no idea what's going to happen the rest of the way, but I'll say it anyway. I think it's first to double digits tonight.
Double digits?
Somebody will hit 10 runs tonight. Yeah.
If I were a bet man, I would say yes.
And drive. Ghosts will backpedal and make the catch. Inning over. We go to the 7th. 8-5 Detroit. And can. That is Alexander by Ray Pila. Castro moves over to his natural position, shortstop. Coughlin playing second. Montero catching and Jason Mott pitching to Jose Iglesias. There's Coughlin. The triple off the bench for him. High strike right at the belt.
Jason 7-1, 3.77 ERA.
Floated into short right, base hit.
These
6 hits in the series for Iglesias.
Infield single and then that blooper. Hit the ball hard last night. He's been a little fortunate here this evening. Good work by Clayton Richard. Slowed the Tigers down. 3 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned. Didn't walk anybody. Struck out 4.
Norris left this game. Daniel Norris with a sprained right oblique. Swing, line shot into the seats.
So if you're into factoids, here's one for you. John Lester allowing 3 home runs tonight. It's the 3rd consecutive game in which Cubs starting pitcher has allowed 3 home runs. First time that has happened since 1956. Heron on Sunday, Jason Hamley yesterday, and John here tonight.
Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Tyler Collins is on deck.
Have to take the way of the bunt here on Ghost. Even with a strike, when you get to 2, you can back off a little bit.
Dave Clark, the Tigers' third base coach and a former Cub, giving the signs. Omar Vizquel at first.
You know what they have in common?
Tell me.
They both won Gold Gloves. Clark is a boxer.
Golden Glove. Yeah.
Vizquel is a shortstop.
Call. "24 years, big leagues for Omar Vizquel."
One hopper at second base would work.
Line drive the other way. The Tigers are in business.
That works for the Tigers, not so much for the Cubs. Cubs sneak back, score a couple. Tigers answer.
Everybody in their starting lineup with at least 1 hit, including the pitcher Norris, who homered. Collins, who played left last night, announced. He went 1 for 4 with an RBI.
Really tough to improve your batting average a whole lot in a short period of time this time of the year because you've had so many at bats. But some of these Tiger hitters, they're jumping that batting average 8-10 points here in 2 days.
Bunted toward third. Mott will pick it up. Only plays first, and he gets Collins second and third, 1 away.
Based on the body language, it looked like Jason was thinking about taking a look at third. Then he peeked a little bit at second. But on a ball like that, you almost have to just know you have no chance at either of the lead runners. You have to make sure you get it out. This is a nice bunt. He starts to open up the hips like he's thinking about taking a shot at second, and then steams that throw across to first.
Cubs will bring in their infield against Davis. Struck out first 2 times, infield hit, then a home run. Fastball strike.
The victory bells are in the house.
They are. They will conduct the stretch.
They look like the Rockford Peaches.
It is held. Toby Basner made the call at first. Short night for John Lester. 2 2/3, 7 hits, 7 runs. JD mentioned he gave up 3 homers. But Richard gave up 1, bases loaded, as Davis gets hit on a fastball. And on purpose, you saw Mott's reaction. Back of the elbow. Chris Bosio out to the mound. Ian Kinsler has made outs his last 2 times up, but he has 7 hits in the series.
The bullpen had been on a really nice roll. A little shaky here of late. Pedro Strop last night was charged with 3 runs, but I thought he threw the ball really well. He, maybe 1 mistake. A couple of bunt singles to get the 3-run rally started for the Tigers last night. Kind of ironic the way the ball has been jumping out of here. And that was a big part of it last night.
Three on, 1 away. Pitch to Kinsler. In the air, left center. Iglesias tagging. Throw's going to go toward third. And it's a sacrifice fly for Kinsler to make it 9-5 Detroit. Ghost tagged as well. Fowler's throw went toward third, and when that happened, Ghost decided to stop. He didn't want to get thrown out before the run scored. Remember when that happened in Houston?
Mm-hmm.
It was the Cubs against the Astros. I think it was under Lou Piniella. He wasn't real happy.
No, I've seen it happen a couple of times.
He got thrown out at third, negating a potential run. Cabrera lines one into center. Ghost is going to try to score, and he will. And I think he ran through a stop sign. Ten to 5.
This man is a hit machine. Talked about his presence in the batter's box earlier. Because the ball was so sharply hit, Dave Clark throwing up a stop sign there, but that's one with 2 outs. You would expect Goes to score on just about any base hit to the outfield.
Clark was sending him and then put up a late stop sign, and Ghost blew right past it. You only get a ticket in this game for running through a red light if they throw you out. One 1-0 on Martinez. Detroit won 10-8 last night and leading 10-5 tonight. And to keep their faint playoff hopes alive. Only 4.5 out of the second wild card, but behind a lot of teams.
Dangerous pitch there, elevated fastball. Well, it didn't take long for your double-digit run score to come true.
Sadly, that is true. So those are the updated standings. Angels looking for their 3rd straight win over the White Sox to start that series.
Rangers hanging around in that AL wildcard race. Derek Holland scheduled to pitch today for the 2nd time all year. And the Rangers beat the Mariners 7-2 behind Derek Holland.
Orioles a 5-4 winner over the Mets. Walk-off fashion. Swing and a miss to end the inning. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Budweiser.
Tonight's guest conductors for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, the Victory Bells.
All right, Cubs fans, let us hear ya. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let me root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's get some runs.
Underway here in the 7th. Kyle Schwarber sends one high and deep to center. Back is Ghost. It's gone. A home run. It's not over yet. That one off Drew Verhagen. Greeted rather rudely.
First pitch that Verhagen throws. Schwarber jumps all over for his 10th home run. He's got no problem getting that ball in the air. He has the
strike.
Kyle Schwarber does among hitters with at least 125 plate appearances. The 6th best at-bat to home run ratio in Major League Baseball.
First home run allowed by Verhagen as Collins stays in and plays left. This is the 3rd career appearance for Verhagen. Ripped to left. Foul by a foot or so.
Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. How about 405 feet? The distance of that home run off the bat of Kyle Schwarber. 405. If you had 405, and how far did it fly? Pool, you're a winner. So just to give you an idea of what Schwarber's doing here, the gentleman with better at-bat to home run ratios than Schwarber in the big leagues this year, Giancarlo Stanton, Chris Davis, Mark Teixeira, Nelson Cruz, and Bryce Harper.
Broken bat roller into right for Chris Bryant. That is his 3rd hit and his 4th reach. So let's see, Rizzo 23, Bryant has 17, Coghlan 14, Fowler 13, Montero 11, Schwarber now has 10. 6 Cubs in double digits. You have to think Russell and Soler will have a good chance to get there, as Russell has 7, Soler has 6.
In a year in which his ballpark has not played hitter friendly. Tough situation for this young right-hander. He made one big league appearance last year. It was a start. He pitched once out of the bullpen earlier this year with the Tigers. Starting pitcher down in AAA. Changeup. Check that. He's been working out of the pen at AAA this year. He's been a starter in prior years. Pretty much exclusively a starter.
From Texas to Navarro College and Vanderbilt. .6'6", 230. Here's a 2-2, and that moved Rizzo's feet. It's full, 3-2. On the ground, Kinsler quickly. Oh, he overran it. Everybody's safe. In his haste to maybe get 2, he didn't get any.
having a heck of a series with the bat, but this is his second error tonight. He's having a very nice year defensively. And like the last one, just I think he closed his glove a little too early. Just trying to be a little too fancy there in a hurry, trying to do the catch flip thing. Comes up empty.
Comes Brad Ausmus. This is not going to be a pitching change as lefty Hardy's just playing catch.
I think that's Boyd they've got up.
Or is that Boyd?
The starter, yeah. Playing fantasy baseball? If you are, MLB.tv serves up real-time highlights and pitch tracking on your out-of-market fantasy players live or on demand on over 400 devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Get MLB.tv today. So kind of an all-hands-on-deck approach here for Brad Ausmus. Boyd, who has been in the rotation, getting ready in the pen.
2 on, nobody out. A run in on the Schwarber leadoff blast. And the pitch to Jorge Soler misses inside. And a curve.
A tough night for Soler so far. Ground out, punch out. Infield pop with the bases loaded last time.
2-0. On the edge. Just caught it. Should be 2. It is. Big double play for Verhagen. 6-4-3. Bryant's now at third, but there are 2 outs.
And the second one of those they have turned tonight, and both helping to spike a rally. Ironically, the Cubs have grounded into fewer double plays than anybody in baseball. The Tigers have grounded into the most.
Castro takes a strike.
That's a tough night for Soler. Cause you to lose sleep after a night like tonight.
Ground ball, be surrounded by Iglesias, off balance, out at first. Hang on a second. As Brandon Hyde wants Joe Madden to take a look at it, so they're telling the Tigers hang on before you head off the field. We'll get a look at it. There won't be a challenge because he was out. Kyle Schwarber led off the bottom of the 7th with a home run. And it's now 10-6 Detroit. With yet another home run. He's got 10 already. Jonathan Herrera comes in. He plays short. Third shortstop for the Cubs tonight. Russell, Castro, Herrera. New pitcher is James Russell. Castellanos takes a curveball off the plate inside.
James working for the 45th time. He's pitched to a 3.34 ERA. Normally you're most concerned with Cabrera, JD Martinez, perhaps Ian Kinsler, but Castellanos has been absolutely locked in this series tonight. 2 home runs, a double, and a line drive to right last time up.
Line drive to left. Fair ball, and he's on his way to second. What a night for Castellanos. Homer, grand slam double, line out double. Remember a night Mark Kotsay had with Atlanta against the Cubs maybe 7-8 years ago. He hit for the cycle. And I remember saying if he had 12 at bats, I think he'd go 12 for 12. Yeah. Castellanos has had that kind of night, and he's done. He's out. That's it.
Osmus opting for defense here in the late innings, so he's going to run with Romine. Castellanos and a number of these Tiger hitters are going to be weeping when they leave Wrigley Field tonight. They're not going to want to leave.
That's McCann off the plate.
It'd be tough to convince the Tiger hitters that this ballpark has not been hitter friendly this year.
One and one.
.35 hits for the Tigers in these 2 games. Braves come to town tomorrow for a 4-game series. Tomorrow night, Jake Arrieta will pitch for the Cubs. Mike Foltynewicz for Atlanta.
We'll have Sunday's game here on WGN. Matt Whistler and Jason Hamill. 1 o'clock for the leadoff man.
Foltynewicz, then Shelby Miller. He flirted with a no-no last time out. Williams Perez will pitch the Saturday game. Get familiar with him. And then Whistler. Arrieta, Hendricks, Heron, Hamill for the Cubs. Speaking of Braves named Perez, I believe this is the anniversary, I think I read this today, of Pascual Perez driving around Atlanta trying to find the ballpark, got stuck on the loop. Couldn't find the exit to the stadium.
swing and a miss, strike 3. 1 out here in the Tiger 8th.
Trying to think who the pitcher was. I heard a story years ago. He was a young kid with the Yankees, and he was, I think, the starting pitcher on this particular day, and he was stuck in traffic getting to the ballpark, and he was getting a ride from his wife or somebody, and he heard the anthem playing, so he got out of the car and sprinted into the ballpark.
Stolen base for Romine.
It was Old Timers Day, so it was way before the actual start of the game.
You can see how that would induce panic.
Oh, God. Field has to come in here.
Yeah, the Tigers just have not let up on the gas pedal in this one. 3 in the second. A grand slam by Castellanos in the 3rd. They added a run in the 6th, 2 more in the 7th, threatening again in the 8th. And I think Brad Ausmus would say the reason is we have to. The Cubs have had lots of chances. Two and two. And he got him. Big strikeout for Russell. 2 outs. Here comes Gose.
A good execution here by Russell. He's not known as a strikeout pitcher. Took advantage of Iglesias' desire to drive that run in, bounce that curveball, and got him to chase.
Bryant way in at 3rd, even with 2 outs. Gose always with the potential to lay down a bunt for a hit. 1 ball, no strikes.
That pitch by Russell, a great example of what Joe Madden was talking to us about earlier today, about when you need a strikeout, you got to have the willingness to bounce it way out of the zone.
Pulled down the right field line. Romine scores. Gose is going to try for 3, and he will reach. Solaire's throw got by the first cutoff man, Coghlan. I thought if Chris had been able to make that play, they had a shot at Gose, but once it trickled past him, really no chance. So a 2-out RBI triple to make it 11-6.
Yeah, I think the smart play for Gose is to drop anchor here at second base. The really good play for Gose is driving in yet another run for the Tigers. Let's see if Chris is able to keep the tag on if Gose pops up off the base.
Cubs will not challenge.
Playing a game of Twister there. And in that relay situation, if the first guy doesn't get a clean throw, either chest high or an easy hop to contend with, he's going to let it go and let the second guy handle it.
Poke to left. Fair. Ghost is in. Collins to second. Throw there. Safe. Quick tag by Coghlan. Good throw by Schwarber, but tardy. Twelve to 6.
The Tigers were up 7-0 before the Cubs started scoring. It's like this game is bound and determined to end up with a football score. Schwarber has displayed a pretty strong arm out there in left field.
Bring up switch hitting Victor Martinez in the pitcher spot. Last night he came on as a pinch hitter, was intentionally walked, and then was lifted for a pinch runner. Well, the Tigers playing in this series like the four-time defending American League Central champs, even though odds are they're not going to make the playoffs this year. Two and one.
Well, even if this is not the year for the Tigers, there's reason to believe that it's not going to be a big rebuild for them. They've got a lot of talented players already here at the big league level. The question is how quickly these young pitchers come. Guys like Norris and Boyd. How much does Justin Verlander have left? Apparently in his last start he was really good.
Three and two on the veteran Victor Martinez. Phillies beat the Blue Jays 7-4 tonight. Mark Burley took the loss. Adam Morgan got the win.
You know that popular phrase, what have you done for me lately? Sometimes it doesn't matter what you've done for someone lately. Pedro Florimon, game-winning hit for the Pirates last night.
Right.
Designated for assignment today.
How about that? Thanks for the memories.
Thanks for the contribution, son.
Royals lead the Reds 4-3, top of the 6th. Had some rain there earlier. That's why they're behind us, even though they were supposed to start earlier. Ryan Braun passed Robin Yount on the all-time Brewers home run list, hit number 252 in an 8-7 win over Miami. Chris Davis hit 2. That's deep. Schwarber will have to play the carom diagonally off that well. It's a double for Martinez. Collins is in. It's a 3-run 8th inning. 3 straight 2-out run scoring extra base hits. Third out proving to be elusive here with no action in the bullpen.
Yeah, tough night for Russell. Sometimes you just got to eat it.
Kinsler lines out, inning over. They add 3 to their lead. It's 13-6.
He's in the ball game to play third base. He pinch ran for Castellanos. And then another one of these young left-handers that the Tigers acquired from the Blue Jays in the David Price deal will pitch. Matt Boyd, 1-3, 7.50 the ERA. He was the starting pitcher Sunday in Houston, got knocked around. So overall, the number's not good for him. 5 games, a 7.50 ERA. All 5 of those appearances coming as a starting pitcher. So this is probably a throw day for him, and then he probably said, all right, here's the deal. You got a short bullpen. Might need you. Stay ready. Lo and behold, here he is.
Facing Chris Coghlan. So Cubs winning 9 in a row, and staring at what would be their third consecutive loss. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, with last night's loss, back-to-back losses for the first time since they were swept by Philadelphia. That was July 24, 5 and 6.
Snapped their 8-game home winning streak last night. A loss tonight would put the Cubs at 8 and 10 against the American League this year. But it's not as if the Cubs weren't going to have another 3 or 4 game losing streak the rest of the way, and that's where you bank those wins during the big stretch of 15 out of 16. Give yourself a little cushion.
Yeah, and that's why we always preach in baseball, don't get too high, don't get too low, because when you get on a roll like the Cubs were, and you 15 out of 16, and then if you do lose 3 or 4 in a row, it can be really deflating, and that's up to that guy right there and the coaching staff and the veteran guys to make sure there isn't a big letdown if you lose 2 or 3 in a row after a great streak. It's funny when you watch a team play that well for so long, though, you get that feeling like, man, they're never going to lose again. Right. Or if they do, it'd be a little like the Sale game. You know, they're going to run into a red hot pitcher and he's going to shut them down, but then they'll go on and pick right up where they left off.
Two from Boyd is popped foul out of play. The Tigers with back-to-back games of 19 hits. This is the 4th time, according to their Twitter account, since 1914 they've done that. And the first time since a doubleheader in St. Louis in 1935. That would have been the Browns. Well, getting back to National League play, I guess the Cubs had a streak going that'll continue, right? These 3 losses coming versus the American League.
Good spin right there. Good spin. So this kid at Double-A this year was 6-1 with a 1.10 ERA in 12 starts. Double-A for the Blue Jays. And then the Blue Jays Triple-A club, 3-1 with a 2.77. Made 1 appearance with the Tigers Triple-A club and then was called to the big leagues.
Chopper Kinsler, who's already made 2 errors, makes this play. We get Coghlan. 1 out, Montero coming up. Lefty to lefty. Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. He has blown straight out pretty much all night. He has died down a little bit. It has definitely been an offensive environment. Should be easy for Ghost. And he goes and gets it. 2 outs. Jonathan Herrera will get his first shot. Switch hitter batting righty.
What's his walk-up song?
I don't have my list, but it was that one.
Build a graphic down there.
Hey, a couple of Cubs minor league notes. Congrats to the Eugene Emeralds. Sunday, a few days ago against Everett, a combined no-hitter. It was the Emeralds' first no-no since 1968. No strike. The Southern League, that's the Double-A league with Tennessee. Ryan Williams, right-hander, pitcher of the week. He's had a really good first full pro season. 12-3 with a 198. 10th round pick from last year. So that's the good news. The bad news is it looks like outfielder Billy McKinney is done for the season. He's got a hairline fracture in his right knee. Hit 300 in 106 games between Myrtle Beach and Tennessee.
McKinney, good hitting prospect, came over from the A's in the Samardzija Hamel deal with Addison Russell last summer.
One-two pitch. It's 2-2. You see, Maikel Franco could be done for the year. He's got a tiny fracture in his left wrist. Fine rookie third baseman of the Phillies.
I had not seen that.
Deep left field. Back on it is Collins at the track. It's off the wall. He's got to chase it down. And Herrera will stop at second. He's not going to take any chances down big with 2 outs.
I know Herrera is not a power guy, but he torched that one. I don't know how that stayed in the ballpark. I guess because he hit it into the well area. But, man, the ball's been carrying tonight. I mean, he jumped all over this one. I think he thought he got it.
Pitching change in the 8th. We'll be back.
Those are his numbers combined in his time with the Rangers this year and then with the Tigers. Really struggled since joining Detroit with an 11.91 ERA, 13 appearances in a Tiger uniform.
All-Star 2010, 40 saves that year. Telly Feliz, 6'3", 225. Still only 27 years old. He was the first rookie to record 40 saves. 2010. Strike called on Fowler. American League Rookie of the Year that season. 2010. Fly ball out of the left center, and it's going to drop and one hop the wall. Herrera scores. It's a double for Fowler as Collins and Ghost chat about it. When Collins went after that ball, kind of looking like Ghost was going to catch it. And it looked to me like Collins was the one guy who had the best shot. At any rate, 13-7.
Should have been a relatively easy play for Collins. He quit on this ball early. Didn't have a good read on it at all. You can tell by the angle where he was and where the ball ended up. Bad read and a break for the Cubs and Fowler. It's ironic the Tigers have played a sloppy game. That was a misplay. 2 errors by Kinsler. They've been able to cover it up with all this hitting.
So that run will be charged to Boyd. Yeah, you said it earlier. This game seems destined to end in a football score of some kind. It was 7-0 before the Cubs got their first run. Swing and a miss. 1-1.
Results have not been there for Phillies, but the velocity sure is in terms of radar gun readings now versus in his glory days, if you will, with the Rangers a few years back when he was getting all those saves.
It would be a huge development for the Tigers going into next year. Somebody with his type of resume could grab that 9th inning role. 2-2. And you see 96 and you go, wow, that's intriguing. And then you think, yeah, every team's got about 4 guys who can do that.
Yeah, it
now.
used to be, you know, there was a few in the league. It seems like there's at least 1 on every team, and usually 2 or 3.
Toward right, diving stop. Cabrera from his knees. He gets him 3-1 to end the inning. Miguel Cabrera with a great defensive play. That saved a run. And the Cubs are finished in the 8th. They get 1. It's 13-7. requirement for a starting pitcher to get a win should be waived, because tonight I can make no case for any of their relievers to win this game. None.
Yeah.
There isn't one.
And if the kid doesn't get hurt,
I mean, who do you give it to right now?
Well, let me look. let me do some deep research here.
You give it to a third baseman. Cabrera, line shot in the left. That is their 20th hit of the game. And it's a season high allowed by the Cubs, topping only last night. His third straight hit.
You know, you and I both saw Albert Pujols when he was at his best. I'm not sure it's as good as this guy.
I think
he makes it look so easy.
He's as good a right-handed hitter as we've seen in a long time. Joe Madden, Ron Kuma, we were chatting in Joe's office the other day, made the Edgar Martinez comparison. Similar. (1-0) on J.D. Martinez. Yeah, so Norris went 4 1/3. He can't get the win. He allowed 3 runs. Tom Gorzolani got 1 out.
Yeah.
Walked 2. Albuquerque gave up 2 runs in an inning and a third. Verhagen gave up a run in an inning. Boyd gave up a run, got 2 outs. I suppose if Feliz finishes and doesn't give up anything, he's probably going to get the win.
I guess somebody's got to get it.
Chris Denorfia is going to pitch possibly if Russell hits a pitch count that's a bit unpalatable for his manager. One of the arguments against taking away the 5-inning requirement is you're asking an official scorer occasionally to make these subjective decisions. You know, if you get rid of the 5-inning thing, then what are the parameters? Well, I got to tell you, Bob Rosenberg has a very difficult decision tonight with the 5-inning rule.
Yeah, if nothing else, 54 mile.
Way up in the air, deep to left, Schwarber. Can't get it, it's a home run. J.D. Martinez, 2-run blast. 15-7. Yikes.
I'm having flashbacks because this reminds me of a couple of those Tiger teams that I pitched against back in the mid-90s.
With the Deere, Tettleton,
Fielder, and all those guys, yeah. Trammell, Travis Fryman.
And Cabilia. Yep.
Extra base hits of their 21 hits have gone for extra bases. Forgive my redundancy. Well, at least maybe we'll get to see Chris Denorfia pitch. It's not Ryan Dempster warming up in the pen.
I'll say it. I've probably got 800,000 tweets this year. When you say that Chris Denorfia looks like Ryan Dempster, and I have generally not said it, but I'll say it tonight if he pitches.
Especially if he does that shaky glove thing. So anyway, maybe if nothing else, change the rule so that if a guy gets injured, he could still qualify for the win even if he doesn't go 5. See, I think Rosie should make history tonight. And when he fills out his official card, he should give the win to Norris.
1-2 to Romine.
Just go completely rogue.
Give it to Jack Morris.
Give it to Jack.
Well, Maybe Denorfia gets the final couple of outs at the top of the ninth, and then the Cubs pull off a miracle, and he gets the win. As Russell throws out Romine. Up foul over near first and off the dugout. Fowler's got it. Here comes the manager, and he wants Chris Denorfia.
Well, 45 pitches for Russell here tonight. Clayton Richard threw 50 pitches. So heading into tomorrow's ball game, you're only going to have one lefty available.
Denorfia getting in there quickly before Joe changes his mind. His career on the brink. Will this be the final performance? Here's Denorfia.
Go, man. Don't stop.
Right. He was ready to go about 2 minutes ago.
As David Ross will attest, this could be a little nerve-wracking, even for veteran guys, been around a long time. All of a sudden you throw them out there on the mound. Do something completely different.
Steve Ryan.
Just enough to get it there. 83. He's below hitting speed.
Ground ball, second base. Denorfia. ERA of 0, matching David Ross. 15-7. right?
Yeah.
Ross, Arrieta, and Denorfia.
Well, Jake's got a way to go to catch up to the other two.
So if Neftali Feliz has a clean bottom of the ninth, relatively speaking, he's going to get the win. Fouled off by Bryant. 15-7. Well, Denorfia was pitching below hitting speed. You can have a little success doing that. It's almost jarring for a major league hitter. Right center, diving attempt, good effort by Ghost, can't get it. Bryant on his way to third. He's got a stand-up triple. That's a 4-hit night for Chris Bryant. Single, homer, walk, single, double, triple rather.
You know, lost in this lopsided score is the fact that a number of Cub hitters have had very good games. It's the kind of game the narrative will be, it was an ugly game, it was sloppy. Well, the Cubs have not played a sloppy game. They just pitched poorly, and the Tigers have bashed the baseball. But the Cubs have played a clean game in the field and swung the bats well. And they've had some opportunities where they could have gotten more, but it's hard to quibble with a lineup that puts a 7 spot on the board.
Yeah, the offense not the problem tonight, and they've had chances to get more than what they do have. One and 0 on Rizzo. Popped him up. I don't think Bryant's going to tag.
One guy who did not have a good night is Anthony. Nothing for 5. Had a chance to salvage something with that RBI opportunity staring him in the face.
He's maybe doing the math here. If I give up 1, can I still get a win? The only Tiger pitcher, aside from Feliz at the moment, to not give up a run was Gorzolani, but he got 1 out and he walked 2. That'll get the run in as Ghost goes back to the warning track and he makes the catch right up against the ivy. Sac fly for Soler. Bryant is in 15-8. While this doesn't look like a football score, I guess with the point after changes in the NFL, we might see a 15-8 game this year.
Yeah, maybe a safety. I mean, it would have really messed up your squares for the Super Bowl if you had 5 and 8. You had no chance of winning. You never know. The pitcher of the game for either side was Clayton Richard. 3 1/3, 1 run allowed.
Honorable mention to Chris Denorfia.
Yeah, Denorfia with a solid 1/3 of an inning.
I think it's raining, by the way, very lightly. Unless I'm seeing things.
No, I'm with you. It is raining a little bit.
Okay. Two and 2.
David Ross hit a home run last time he pitched, didn't he?
Yes. I think. I'm going to go with yes. Yeah. Swing and a miss. And the ball game is over. The Tigers come in and sweep the Cubs 10-8 and 15-8. And we'll be back to Wrigley Field in a moment.